It's late, and the house has gone quiet except for one corner of the room, a back leg working against the floor. Thump, thump, thump. A pause. Then it starts again. You've heard it 100 nights, and by now you barely register it, the way you stop hearing a clock in a room. Your first instinct, every single time, is to make it stop. Say his name. Reach for something. A wipe. A spray. Whatever sits closest in the cupboard and promises relief. I get it. I did the exact same thing for years. But I want to be straight with you before we go further, because it quietly changes everything that comes after. That scratching is not the problem. It's a message. And most of the quick fixes we grab for are just ways of turning the volume down on that message without ever reading what it says. So let's actually read it. Start with the thing sitting underneath all of this because it's the floor the rest stands on. You can think of your dog's skin as a barrier. One thin, living wall between the outside world and everything inside him. When it's working, it holds water in and keeps the bad stuff out, and you never once think about it. When it cracks, even slightly, the nerves just below the surface start firing, and the brain reads that firing as a single sensation: itch. Here's the trap hidden in that. Scratching feels like the cure, but to the skin it lands as more damage. Every drag of a back claw strips away a little more of that wall, which irritates the skin, which lights up more nerves, which begs for more scratching. Vets call it the itch-scratch cycle. And once a dog is caught inside it, the thing that first set it off barely matters anymore. The scratching becomes its own engine, which is why the first honest goal is smaller than you'd think. Tonight, I'm going to give you the chance to stop that loop. My dog Rocky and I stopped it, and you can too. And there's one kitchen thing with real evidence behind it right here, not folklore. Oatmeal. Colloidal oatmeal to be exact, which is just oats ground fine enough to scatter through water. It's been leaned on in human and animal skincare for decades for one plain reason. It settles inflamed skin. The compounds in it quiet the nerves that are firing and shield the barrier while it heals. This one isn't a guess. The way most people run it, though, works against them without their knowing. They draw a warm bath. Warm feels comforting to us, so it seems like the kind thing to do. But heat opens the blood vessels near the skin and tends to make an itch louder rather than softer. Cool, or barely lukewarm, is what you actually want. Grind plain oats into a powder, stir it through cool water, and let your dog stand or sit in it for around 10 minutes so the skin can properly soak. There's no scrubbing involved. That quiet soak is the whole point, giving the barrier a chance to settle. That alone, on a bad night, can be the entire difference between a dog who chews himself raw and one who finally drops off to sleep. But easing the surface still leaves the real question sitting there, completely untouched. Something pried that barrier open in the first place, and until you know what it was, you're just silencing a smoke alarm without once checking the kitchen. So before anything else tonight, if he keeps worrying at one spot, feel it with your own fingers before you reach for any product, and notice whether it's the same spot it was last time. Now, let's go looking for what opened it, because this is where most of the advice online quietly falls apart. 9 times out of 10, when a dog has been chewing and scratching for weeks, the cause is one of two things: something on the skin or something in the diet. And by far the most common something on the skin is the one people are sure they'd have spotted: fleas. Here's the part that trips everyone up. For every flea you actually see crawling on your dog, there are dozens you never will. The adults biting him are maybe 5% of the whole population. The rest, the eggs and the larvae, are out in the carpet and the bedding and down in the cracks of the floor, waiting. So a dog can be miserable from fleas, while you'd swear the house is spotless because the ones causing the problem aren't the ones you can see. And this is exactly where the internet hands you a stack of natural cures that feel wonderful and mostly do nothing. Take brewer's yeast. You'll read everywhere that a spoonful in the bowl makes your dog give off a smell fleas can't stand, turning him invisible to them. It's a lovely idea. When researchers actually put it to the test, feeding brewer's yeast to one group of dogs and not the other, the fleas didn't cooperate. Both groups ended up carrying about the same number. The vitamins may be doing your dog some good on the inside. They are not building a shield on the outside. Apple cider vinegar in the food gets sold the same way, as something that sours the blood and drives ticks off. There's no real evidence ticks care one way or the other. And this one matters more than the yeast, so I won't dress it up. Ticks aren't just an itch, they carry actual disease, and there is no cupboard trick that reliably keeps them off a dog. If ticks are a genuine risk where you walk, that's the one part of all this I'd take seriously rather than gamble on folklore. Then there's the truly dangerous corner of the natural remedy world, and almost nobody warns you about it. Garlic shows up on flea repellent lists constantly, and it's toxic to dogs. Its compounds slowly damage their red blood cells, and the effect builds up. So, even a small amount every day can end somewhere genuinely dangerous. Onion is worse still. Natural and safe are not the same word, and this is the corner where believing they are can cost you the most. Rocky, my dog, once chewed one patch on the back of his leg raw over a single humid week, and I tried 3 separate things from the cupboard before I understood what was actually happening. There was one flea right at the base of his tail in the exact spot he couldn't reach. Nothing I dabbed on that leg was ever going to touch it. That's the whole trap in a single sentence. We treat the place that itches instead of the reason it itches. Now, one natural fix from that world is worth keeping, with a firm rule attached. If your dog's paws smell faintly of corn chips and he won't stop licking them, that's usually yeast on the skin, and a rinse of half water and half apple cider vinegar can help nudge the surface pH down to where that yeast struggles. The idea isn't crazy, but here's the rule that actually matters. You never put vinegar on skin that's raw, cracked, or bleeding. On skin that's already broken, it stings badly enough to make the raw patch worse. So we've calmed the surface, and now we've gone hunting for the cause on the outside. Here's the honest question I want you to sit with. When you finally found your dog's itch was something real, a flea, a food, anything at all, how long had you been treating the wrong thing first? Tell me below, because I think most of us lose weeks in there. And I'd genuinely like to know I'm not the only one. But there's a second door we still haven't opened, and it's the one that decides whether any of this holds. Because a barrier that keeps cracking open week after week usually isn't being broken from the outside at all. It's being built badly from the inside. Tonight, before you treat anything, part the fur right at the base of his tail and look closely at the skin. And if you find a scatter of tiny black specks, that's your answer sitting in plain sight. So let's open that second door, the inside one, because this is where the fix that actually lasts lives. Your dog grows a whole new outer layer of skin roughly every 3 weeks. The barrier you're trying to fix today is literally being rebuilt from scratch over the next 20 days, cell by cell, out of whatever raw material you're feeding him. Which explains the thing that frustrates everyone. Nothing you do works overnight. You're not fixing a surface so much as waiting on a wall to finish rebuilding, and walls take time. The single most useful thing you can hand that rebuild is fat. The omega-3 fats in particular, the kind in oily fish. This is one of the few dietary moves that has actually held up when it's been tested properly in dogs. The fats get folded straight into the membranes of the new skin cells, and they quietly steer the body's inflammation dial downward, so the fresh skin comes in calmer and holds water better than the skin it's replacing. A little sardine packed in water, or plain cooked fish with nothing added, is a real ingredient here, not a hopeful one. Give it a few weeks before you judge it, because that's roughly how long the new skin takes to arrive. Now, the part I have to be careful with, because the internet gets loud and certain here. You'll hear that the itch all comes from the gut, that carbohydrates turn to sugar, sugar feeds yeast, and the whole immune system topples over. That tidy version oversells it. What's fair to say is quieter. Some dogs really do react to something in their food, and an itch that never fully clears can absolutely begin at the bowl. There's also real, early research into the gut and the skin talking to each other through the body's bacteria. But it's early. Anyone selling you certainty about it is running ahead of what we actually know. Where that leaves you is simple and a little boring. A spoon of plain live yogurt or kefir can support the gut bacteria, and it's low risk to try. One hard rule, though, and this one isn't optional. Check the label for xylitol, sometimes written as birch sugar. It's harmless to you, but it can kill a dog fast, crashing their blood sugar and going after the liver. It hides in low-sugar yogurts and peanut butters. Read before you share. And here's the mistake almost nobody avoids. People read a list like this and try all of it at once, that same afternoon. The fish, the yogurt, the vinegar rinse, a bath, everything together. Then the dog gets better or doesn't, and they've no idea which thing did it. So change one thing. Give it a couple of weeks. Watch what the skin does. It's slower, and it's the only way you'll ever really learn your own dog. Because that's the quiet skill sitting underneath all of this. Almost everyone treats the itch. Very few people learn to read it. To tell a flea from a food from a long dry winter just by what the skin is doing. The ones who learn to read it stop chasing symptoms and start noticing patterns. And their dogs are the ones who slowly stop scratching for good. So the next time you catch that back leg going in the dark, try not to reach straight for the nearest bottle. Sit down next to him for a second first. All that scratching was him talking to you in the only language he has, pointing you at the one thing he needs you to see. And now you finally know how to look back. And if you also want to figure out the psychology of dogs, follow me and click the playlist on the screen. See you.